5th meeting to order. All right, first we'll do the pledge led by Director Spurlock.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Spurlock. Okay. Thursday night, we'll have an election of board officers. Move on to the agenda. Anybody have anything on the agenda we need to change, or how about the consent agenda? All right. Let's see. Thursday night, we'll have some recognitions of our reward schools. Transportation, number 8.
Transportation number 8, pursuant to section 16.1 Rutherford County Board of Education bus contract, the Transportation Department has received a letter dated 8/27/2019 from Casey Leonard, who's a part owner of C&G LLC contractor of bus 232, requesting a voluntary termination of his contract with the board. He has requested that the contract be awarded to his business partner, Greg Brown, who owns the bus and is the primary driver and handles the bus-related work. The Transportation Department has 3 years of good standing with Greg Brown and is prepared to award this contract to him if approved.
Okay, any questions? All right, the next one.
Pursuant to section 3.8 of Rutherford County Board of Education bus contract, the Transportation Department has received a letter dated 8/19/2019 from Brenda Sanders requesting approval to replace her 25-passenger, which has one wheelchair capacity special education bus that was totaled in a non-preventable accident with a 31-passenger, replaced it with a 31-passenger, 2 wheelchair capacity special education bus. That kind of run together there. I didn't write it. Making that clear right now. All right. The Transportation Department supports this request because additional wheelchair space will reduce the miles on the route calls by making additional trips. So if you're replacing your 25-passenger, which was damaged, with a 31-passenger that has 2 wheelchair capacity.
Any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Director, so is this something, with it being a special ed bus, is it under contract also, or is this something that the school system will be funding or helping to fund?
No, this will be completely on her, but she is under contract for that route.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Okay, number 9, special ed agreements.
All right, special ed agreement, this is good. This is a $30,000 Jennings Rebecca Jones grant. Contractual agreement with Peabody College of Education, Human Development of Vanderbilt University. The contract with Peabody College of Education, Human Development of Vanderbilt University is for the training on teaching gifted learners through a variety of professional development sessions. The total cost is not to exceed $26,250 during the 2019-20 school year and will be paid from the grant funds for the Gifted Education Cluster Grouping Project.
Any questions on that? Number 2.
All right, number 2, purchase of student license and training for Easy CBM, progress monitoring using the IDEA discretionary supplemental funds. The following items have been budgeted for using IDEA discretionary supplemental funds. These licenses are to be used for students with disability. The first one is $13,545 for student software license for progress monitoring. The second one is $2,800 for in-service staff development to train on using the progress monitoring tool. You want to explain a little bit for our new board members about, I don't think we ever went over the Easy CBM and the progress monitor.
Sure. Easy CBM that we use district-wide with all students as part of our screening process for response to intervention. And then that data is monitored by school-level teams in order to determine whether or not students qualify for a specific learning disability. This portion of the funding is through discretionary grant funds that can be used for students with disabilities. So essentially, this funding can help supplement our general purpose fund for the Easy CBM licenses that are purchased for all students.
Thank you. Okay, number 10.
All right, number 10 is approval for instructional software. Purchase of instructional testing software. The instruction department is requesting approval for the purchase of the LAS Links assessment software to support our English language learners. The cost of the software is $24.75 per student. The assessment software will provide students the opportunity to participate in benchmark assessments that model the English language proficiency assessment required for all direct serve English language learners. This software is needed so that our teachers can best support the language acquisition needs for our EL students and respond accordingly based on assessment data. Additionally, ELPA is a high-stakes assessment that is included as a component of the district and school accountability in Tennessee. And I think that was one of the things, if you want to talk a little bit about that, Dr. Sullivan, in terms of being able to monitor them in terms of their acquisition of the skills.
Right, absolutely. So when we think about our English language learners, they have to perform not only on our TN Ready or TCAP assessments, but they also, our direct serve students, have to take a language acquisition test to see where they are as far as their language acquisition. Right now, our students basically take teacher-made assessments that are not really aligned to what they're going to be experienced with in February and March. And so this is the best one we can find. It's actually connected with the company that runs the WIDA assessment, which is what our students take as part of English language proficiency. And they will have the opportunity to take the assessment 3 times so that our students will have an idea of where they are and our teachers can then intervene to provide support for them.
I think with the growth, we vacillate back from either the 4th largest as far as percentage or 5th. And we're growing. I think last year from October of 18 to December of 18, we added over 1,000 students. Now, about 2/3 of those primarily on the northern end of our county where some of our challenges exist.
Correct. And we're looking for really to ensure that our district is moving forward on the current accountability model. How our English language learners perform on this assessment is actually 10% of our school score and our district score. So it's something we want to make sure we have accurate data for to support our students.
If I may, Dr. Sullivan, how many different languages does that system?
When we're speaking about languages, Tennessee is an English-only state, so we have to provide it only in English only. And this is really just looking to see what is their English language acquisition. So it's going to be in English.
All right, let's move on to number 11.
All right, number 11, facilities use approved for exemption pursuant to Board Policy 3.206, public education schools, institutions, and post-secondary education institutions, private universities and colleges, governmental entities, or agencies that provide benefits to the Rutherford County school system or have an in-kind relationship approved by the Director of Schools may request the Board of Education to allow exemption from the use of facilities fees, which the Board may allow or deny based upon the details of the specific request. I think on the next page, 11, you see the list of those. No fee in lieu of an in-kind contribution outlined in an MOU, and it's subject to approval of the policy revisions that were discussed previously this year and the MOU provision. If the fee will be assessed retroactively if the policy is not approved.
Any questions? Okay, let's move on to facilities.
All right, facilities, professional construction design related services. In the past, the engineering construction has recommended professional service firms based on jobs or for certain project. We would like to begin a process of yearly bringing these firms back for your information and approval. Most of these firms have been working with our Rutherford County schools for many years and have always done an excellent job. However, from time to time, we need more than one firm for a particular area and would like to recommend a couple in that category as well. The following firms are recommended or for approval if passed by the board. Geotechnical investigation and construction material testing, that would be ECS, Southeast LLP, Collier Engineering, which we've used, Goodwin Mills and Kaywood. For surveying, Collier Engineering, Bird Surveying, Site Engineering Consultants. Structural steel testing, Billy Melton. Civil design, Barge, Cawthon and Associates, and Site Engineering Consultants. Architectural design services, Binkley Garcia Architecture and Interior Design, and OHM Advisors. MPE Services, IC Thomason and Associates, Harper Park Engineering LLC. Aerial Drone Services, Southern Skies and Drone Services. Mr. Lee, you want to follow up on the thought process?
Well, this is the second year we've done this. We brought basically the same list to you last year. There's been one or two that we've taken off the list and basically added a couple more where we felt like we had some need and some additional players involved. But other than that, it's basically the same group you saw last year. And we've been doing it in the past with just on an individual project basis, but we felt like this was a better way to do it. So this is our second year bringing these two before you.
Any other questions?
Which companies are we adding that's never did work for us?
OHM Advisors, Harper Park Engineering, Site Engineering Consultants has done a little bit of consulting work for us in the past. They're a local firm. They've mostly done consulting when we've needed help with a drip system. But we're actually going to be using them probably for some actual design services this year. And pretty much that's about it. Everybody else was on there last year.
Anyone else? Okay, B.
All right, professional design services for Central Magnet High School, HVAC upgrade. Harpeth Park Engineering has presented a design services proposal for mechanical, plumbing, and electrical work required to replace the HVAC system and lighting to LED. Lighting proposal is design services only, while the HVAC is a design, bid, and construction oversight. Per the fee proposal dated August 8, 2019 for $85,000 for design and bid documents. Engineering and construction recommends and not to exceed a contract of $100,000. This price reflects the fee of approximately 2.5% of budgeted costs.
Any questions on that? Okay, Rocky Fork Elementary.
All right, this is a change order. R.G. Anderson has completed the work for Rocky Fork Elementary and has submitted a deductive change order number 3 in the amount of $271,933.63. This brings the final contract amount to $28,004,447.81. Engineering and construction has reviewed the final change order and recommends the approval.
Any questions on that? Okay. Han Oaks Civil and Design fees.
All right. Binkley Garcia Architecture and Interior Design has submitted a fee proposal for the civil design work for the Ten Oaks 3-school complex. This fee is $240,000 and is consistent with their present fee structure. We will be bringing the design service fee for the elementary school in the next few meetings. Engineering and construction has reviewed the proposal and finds it acceptable.
Okay. Any questions on that?
Is this our Christiana property?
It is.
Okay.
Okay. E.
Yeah, number E, if you look at your preliminary schedule draft there, it shows the Ten Oaks property there and the design schedule, and it's all for information only. If you have any questions, direct them to Mr. Lee.
Okay. Smyrna High School fountain.
Yeah, Dr. Sherry Sutherland is requesting to repurpose the fountain in front of the school. The plumbing for the fountain has become problematic. and the school, along with Smyrna Ready Mix, have requested to cap the water lines and turn the fountain into a flowered landscape piece. Engineering Construction has reviewed this request and finds it acceptable. You know, a lot of times what happens is debris gets in there and burns up the motors, and they're constantly replacing it, and it does become a problem over time. So they want to kind of spruce it up, cap off the water, and put a flower bed.
A little bit easier to maintain.
A lot easier.
Yeah, and it'll still be a focal point there at the school instead of taking it out. They wanted to keep it. We're spending a lot of money at this point, but I think this is a better suited purpose.
Okay, Smyrna High football turf.
Yeah, Smyrna High Football Turf Committee. Dr. Sherry Sutherland is requesting permission to form a committee to explore the funding options for the installation of turf football field. At this time, it is exploratory in nature, and SHS will come back to the board prior to moving forward.
Everybody wants turf now. That's pretty neat, though.
Mr. Baldry, have they approached you about financing? Have they said anything yet about the money?
They have not yet, sir, but I'm getting pretty skilled at working with those that are asking.
I have no doubt of that. I just want them to make, I'm sure they know what they're going to have to do to get this done.
Yes, sir.
Because there's some pretty intricate accounting things that have to be answered.
That and the legal side, and I will make sure that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed.
Fair
before
enough.
it comes before you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, H.
HVAC position reclassification. The energy management position was originally set up and funded through a grant to oversee installation of our building automation system. The implementation of this program is coming to an end, and the grant is no longer available. This position needs to be modified to meet the needs of the HVAC department. The position has been combined with a level 6 tech position, and the combination of these two positions is now the responsibility of both the lead tech position and the building automation maintenance position. This position requires the knowledge of both positions and will remain at a 6.5 level. HR has recommended that we request the approval since this position change is a change in classification. So what we're doing is taking two jobs and combining them and making one.
Yes, sir. Presently, the building automation system, a lot of that work was overseeing the installation of the system in each of our schools, and that work is kind of coming to an end. So now it's more of a management type thing where every morning they spend a few hours, going through, looking at everybody's system, see if something's working, not working, broke, that sort of thing. But it also, we felt like that person was not going to be utilized for 8 hours a day. We also had a need for a level 6 tech position, which we already had. So we're combining those positions, better utilize our staff. It's no additional money, no anything else. We're just reclassifying a position to where it's more useful where we are as a department.
Mr. Lee, can I ask you, if we go back to the turf, did we displace anyone? Because I don't know really what goes into maintaining our fields. Did we displace any employees with the two fields with the turf?
Are you talking about at Oakland and Blackman?
Yes, sir.
No, most of the field maintenance is done by the athletic departments, the football coaches. They typically bear the brunt of mowing the grass and overseeding and top dressing and all that kind of thing. So no, there was nobody displaced.
Okay, I didn't know where in responsibility that fell, but that answers my question. Thank you.
Okay. Buchanan Elementary Sewer.
Buchanan Elementary Sewer. Buchanan Elementary has the only standalone sewer system in our system. And this system is permitted until 2021. To get the permitted again, we will require a large amount of money, and we will continue to have to maintain and test it. There are two options open to the Rutherford County Schools. One is an on-site sand filtration system. This will require the use of the area where the baseball field is now and not our first choice. The second option is to build the pump station and pump the sewer to the manhole on Maples project. And you can see it on the drawing. Engineering Construction recommends this option. I think the field has been a community type thing for many decades, I guess, since it's been built out there.
Yes, sir, that is an elementary school, and that ballpark is maintained by the community out there, and if we were to utilize that area, they would lose the ballpark. There is some good soil there, but from a dollars and cents standpoint, it's probably not a whole lot of difference in the cost of building our own sand filtration system and putting in a pump station and taking it across the street. Going that route, then the community keeps their ball field, even though it is owned by us.
So, Mr. Lee, I take it, or Mr. Spurlock, whoever, when you talk about pump the sewer to the manhole on the Maples project, that we already know that that's going to be agreeable with whoever owns the Maples property?
Site Engineering Consultants, which is who we're proposing to use to do our design, is the designers for the Maples project, and they've already spoken with them, and it's Murfreesboro Water and Sewer. We've also had preliminary conversations with Murfreesboro Water and Sewer. That is outside their assessment district, so there can be no other residential use, but a park or a school is allowed by right. Therefore, they will allow us to tie in.
Okay, good to know. And also, I see where it's recommending approval for us to move forward with design drawings and allow to bid the project, but there's not any price tag attached to it. So are we not paying for anything at this point for those services?
We're going to pay, now that we can move forward, I'll be able to get a proposal from them on what the cost would be for the design services part of it. Right now, they're working on an hourly rate for us, doing some consulting through the hourly rate. And I've got it capped at $15,000.
Okay.
I don't think it'll be much more than that for the design services. And then I would also recommend that we would use them through the bidding and also through the construction phase.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Jay.
All right, Eagle Scout project at Stewart's Creek. Clark Inslee, a senior student at Stewart's Creek High School, is requesting to do his Eagle Scout project on the campus of Stewart's Creek. Clark is proposing to build dugouts on the soccer field like Central Magnet. This project will be at no cost to the board and has the approval of the middle and high school. Engineering Construction will coordinate the project with Clark and his parents. And there are no Title IX implications here. Both male and female use the field.
Okay.
All right, 2020-21 preliminary capital projects list for information only. As we move through the year, Engineering Construction will periodically bring the board up to date on the progress of capital projects and give you some comments on it. Are there some things there you'd like to go over, Mr. Lee?
Well, basically, this is the same format that we started with last year. If you'll remember, when we started with this list last year, we were at 22 million. We got roughly 7 million, so that brought the work left at 15. That 15 million is still on the list. And then we've added the things that we discussed, the roofing that was coming and the HVAC systems that were coming, the doors and that sort of thing. So we kind of got that process started late last year. We would like to, from time to time, bring it. We're still working. This is not the final list. But from time to time, we would like to bring this back before you so that you guys can see it as we go along and be able to ask questions throughout the year and not wait till we get into the budget time of the year to start this process this year.
It's like anything else. Some things could move up, some things could move down based on emergencies and things.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Number 13.
All right, Policy Committee recommendations found on tab 4. The Policy Committee met on August the 8th of 2019. The following list of policy changes have been recommended for adoption by the board, and such adoption shall require 2 readings by the board. A change to Policy 3.206, the community use and facilities, was discussed at the policy meeting, but in light of additional legal research, that version of the policy has been taken off notice. Mr. Reed, is there anything you want to mention about that?
There was some discussion about this at the policy committee meeting with respect to the community use of facilities, and there were some proposed changes that the policy committee took up that night, one of which was basically putting some sort of policy in place where organizations could provide in-kind services to the school in exchange for getting access to facilities for free. At the policy committee, we're talking about maybe identifying those groups that might be eligible for that by use of a reference to a U.S. code provision that identifies certain groups as patriotic organizations. And that was something that Congress had done some time ago. In looking at some cases, we went back and looked at everything across the nation again with respect to how cases have dealt with this issue. And exactly, we specifically looked at Sixth Circuit, which is what the federal court system that we're in here in Tennessee. And there's a recent case in Tennessee where there was a use of facilities question that came up in a school, which sustained basically a challenge that a group had made saying a school system had violated their rights with respect to denying them access to a school for allowing some people to have in-kind fees as opposed to charging them actually money for it. So we went back and tried to tailor and so the policy that comes to you tonight comes to you as it came from the policy committee, because that's how the policy committee approved it. But you will see some recommended changes that Sarah and I have worked up to try to basically fit this policy in to make it consistent with the most recent ruling we have from the Sixth Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals that sustained an in-kind type use fee by a school system. And what you'll see in the changes that is in your materials you have tonight is we went back and said basically that the in-kind services that would have to be provided to a school would have to have a value equal to or greater than what fees will be charged to the groups under the use of facilities fee. So that was something in addition that was not in the original policy that went to the policy committee, and that was straight kind of out of the Sixth Circuit ruling, so that the school system won in that case. And in that case, the school system had a practice of charging even though it was not in policy, they had a practice allowing certain groups to provide in-kind services in exchange for which, if the value was equal to or greater than what facilities fees they would be charged otherwise under the fee schedule, that was something that the court found to be permissible. So we went back and you see some language that was added to the policy saying that groups that provide services, in-kind services to school with a value equal to or greater than the facilities use fee for the facilities sought to be used, they may be eligible to use said facilities without payment of fee if they have a memorandum of agreement that's approved by the director of schools, and the terms and conditions are approved by the central office. The other thing which is different in this policy than what the policy committee saw that night was we had identified certain groups as patriotic organizations based on U.S. code provision. To make this fit with the Sixth Circuit ruling, what we saw, we have changed that to nonprofit entities. So the way this currently reads with recommended changes from legal folks here is that nonprofit entities would be eligible to use this for in-kind services if they provide services of equal or greater value than what will be charged to them under the use of facilities fees. So that is a broader group than just patriotic organizations. So whether the board wants to do that or not is up to the board. It's your discretion to do that. This comes to you as a first reading tonight, so this week. So the board can send it back to policy committee for further study. They can adopt changes that we have, as Sarah Page and I have recommended here tonight, or you can adopt it as it was originally passed by the policy committee if you choose to do that. So the other things which I'll just point out is, another thing which I added to the policy was to cover the situation in the event a group promises to provide certain services to the school system but then does not do it. What's the penalty for that? In that case, I've added a provision that says in the event a group does not provide the in-kind services agreed to in the memorandum of agreement, then the group will be responsible for payment of the use of facilities fee for the facilities utilized. So if you have an example, you have a group that promises to do something for the school and provide in-kind services and does not deliver and does not perform those services, then this allows the school system to go back and charge those groups for the facilities they used if you choose to do that. So that was added to the policy too. So this policy comes to you with some changes from the way it came from the policy committee. It's up to the board to decide what it wants to do about it. You can take action on it this week. This is first reading, so it would come back again a second time if you wanted to consider it again a second time with the amendments that we're proposing here from a legal side of things. If you decide you want to send this back to policy committee, you can send this back to policy committee for further study and discussion there, should you choose to do that. Or if you decide not to do anything with this, you don't have to do anything with it. So those are options available to the board.
Any questions?
It appears to me that if a group wanted to use Riverdale High School for an event that we would normally charge for, they're going to have to find out from our attorney, I would assume, what that's going to cost. Otherwise, we'll never know. Well, they're going to have to figure out then they're going to have to do something. If they don't want to pay the cash, then they're going to have to do something equal to or greater than that. And they'll have to present that to Mr. Spurlock and central office personnel. Have I got that right?
That's correct.
Well, it's going to, I'm certainly for changing this in some way, and I think this is a great effort here. But a work session is where we're kind of supposed to discuss things before we do anything. And I recognize this is a first reading on the day after tomorrow. But so they come into Mr. Spurlock and they say, well, he's not going to know, he'll know what the attorney says, but I don't think that Mr. Spurlock is going to know the value of what they want to do, of how much it's worth. For instance, this young man that's going to dig dugouts on the soccer field. I don't have no idea what that's worth. Am I making my point? I just...
Right here, I mean, this, obviously, when we went to this in-kind services thing, is going to require more administrative time to make a determination whether or not you want to, what the services are being provided, what the value of those services are, whether that's worth enough to give them the use of facilities for free or not. So Ms. Page and I discussed that, so I think what you would have to do to administer this policy as it's revised here, should you choose to do this policy, is have a sheet worked up that says that, okay, we have a group requesting the use of a school classroom 2 hours, 5 days a week. We look at the fee schedule to see what that cost would be if you were going to charge them a fee. That's a mathematical calculation that's fairly simple to do because
right.
Math at that point, we have a fee schedule that you can go to that says, okay, if you were paying a fee, this is how much it would be. Then you have to compare that to the services being offered or being proposed by the group. And someone, probably one person, to keep everything uniform in the school system, needs to review those and say, okay, we look at the value of a dugout, say in that case, and you group that are asking for this in-kind services, give us a comparable value that you think these services are worth. I think the group would provide a number saying, we think it's going to take us 120 hours to do this dugout at $10 an hour for labor or minimum wage. This is how much value we think we're contributing in labor towards this project. So that's the type of calculations I think you would have to get into to determine whether or not the services being provided are going to be equal to or greater than those that will be the fees that will be charged under the fee schedule.
I don't know that I disagree with any of that, but I am saying at the end of that first project and paying off whatever the formula says, and they want to continue, they're going to have to come up with something else.
Right.
And I mean, how many something else's are there, and how many groups are there?
And I'd go back to what we originally said, the principal needs to be involved in what the in-kind is, what it looks like, in-kind.
How we envisioned it, if it helps and we can clarify that in procedure, would we allow the principal to make that first contact with the group? They're the ones who approve it first. We don't allow use unless the principal's okay with it. That principal would make first contact with the group. I'll create what I hope will, if this is adopted, this is how I envision it, a form that principal could start with to negotiate. It'll be a memorandum of understanding that they could fill out. They would talk about what they think the school needs, what the school can do. We'll provide probably some general guidelines. We think parking lot cleanup is this much per hour based on our custodial services, things like that. Maybe a couple of options that for most groups, they can just pick one that we've kind of predetermined and already have set out. And then every once in a while, maybe have a special project for maybe our Boy Scouts, folks that have the manpower and also they benefit for Eagle Scout projects, things like that. They could work those out with the principal. Those would then come with the facility use packet to our desk for review. And so at that point, my team would look at it and say, do we think that this is a fair exchange? And step in if we need to, but giving some discretion to the principal to put evaluation on what they believe their school needs.
Well, I think all of that is correct. Every bit of it. I just see that we're going to have to come up with a lot of projects. And if handled right, it could help everybody.
I think there's some things that happen all the time. You know, litter, recycling. There's a plethora of activities that are handled by our maintenance or our staff that possibly could be a long ongoing thing for a length of time. Now, how many organizations could do that? I don't know. It depends on the school. In a high school, you could keep them working, several of them daily.
If I may, and maybe we can help, if this was to go forward, the elementary schools with the new landscaping requirements that are being required are struggling mightily, trying to keep their bushes trimmed and their mulch pretty and the weeds out. We've got some schools that need mulch on their playgrounds, and the schools buy the mulch and install it. You're looking at $3,000 to $6,000 just, and you take an elementary school that can get one fundraiser a year. I'm looking at it as a way to get a bunch of stuff for the elementary, especially those type schools where pulling weeds and trimming bushes is something parents, I did it when my kids were in school. If we could get those kind of gifts in kind from the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts or whether it's a church group, I think it could potentially has a great benefit to us, especially for the elementaries and the middle schools. I'm not ruling out the high schools, but they have more opportunity.
Campus, as large as your campuses are in high school,
there's something that can be painting fences, painting numbers for the parking lots, painting parking bumpers. We're not at a shortage of things we could offer for them to do for us in exchange for a couple of nights of use. And I'm just seeing it as a potential positive.
Understood.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Well, we could always try that policy and for a year and see if it worked. That's the only way we're going to know whether it'll work or not. So.
All right, number one, policy 1.101, role of the Board of Education. This is amended with a full rewrite to reflect TSBA's suggested language. The TSBA noted frequent questioning from boards and community regarding the board's legal authority. This rewrite specifically clarifies the legal authority of the board possesses rather than listing generalized powers. Policy 1.406, minutes. 1.406 has been updated to add reference to Public Acts 2019, chapter number 248, which clarified that minutes may be posted online. Policy 1.803, tobacco and vape-free schools. This policy is amended to clarify that school employees and members of the public cannot smoke or vape on school grounds under Tennessee law. Policy 1.804, alcohol and drugs in the workplace. This policy is updated to reflect TSBA's proposed policy. This adds definition of workplace, illegal drugs, unauthorized drugs, and alcohol. It also clarifies the authority of director of schools has in determining discipline for employees that violate the policy. Policy 2.403, surplus property sales. This policy is updated to reflect law change raising the threshold for items that may be declared surplus property from $250 to $500 and removing the requirement of the property being sold in 90 days. Policy 2.805, purchasing. Policy 2.805 is updated to reflect the use of a designee for purchasing, add guidance on online purchasing, and update terminology. Policy 2.8051, credit cards, credit lines. This policy is proposed as a full replacement for the previously existing policy. The previous edition has not been updated since 2012. The new proposed language is the TSBA's model language. The previous guidance has been moved to a proposed procedure which details about internal operation and is more appropriate. Policy 3.202, Emergency Preparedness Plan. This policy is updated to reflect a law change that clarified that all schools must have an AED. The requirement to produce written copies of emergency procedures to all staff, students, and parents is removed because it is not required, and procedures can be made available online. Language requiring principals regularly check fire extinguishers was moved under the correct section header. Language directing procedures to be created related to the AED and CPR training has been added to mirror the TSBA policy suggestions. Policy 4.602, grade point average and class rank, grades 9 through 12. This policy is updated to add back the method in which students from the graduating classes of 2020 to 2022 can earn valedictorian and salutatorian designations. This is the same method previously applicable to all classes. The graduating class of 2023 will need to meet the new method adopted by the board on June of 2019. The change is proposed to eliminate confusion over which standard applies. Number 10, Policy 4.605, graduation requirements. It's updated to reflect the new law that requires all students pass the U.S. Civics test prior to graduation. The special education section has been updated to structure the requirements clearly and added information about the alternate academic diploma. Specific testing benchmarks are removed from early graduation section. Duplicative language is deleted and small organizational changes have been made. Policy 4.700, testing programs, has been updated to include Tenured and EOC grade percentages for the 2019-2020 school year and beyond. Interest inventory and career assessment guidance is added in light of a recent law change. Small language changes in headers are added to align the policy to the TSBA model policy and to add clarity. Policy 5.200, separation practice for tenured teachers, is amended by adding third ground to when it was permissible to break a contract and updating the requirement to report breaches from the Commissioner of the Department of Education to the State Board of Education based on new law. Policy 5.201, separation practice for non-tenured teachers. This policy has been amended by adding a third ground to when it is permissible to break a contract and updating the requirement to report the breach to the Commissioner of the Department of Education to the State Board of Education based on a new law. Policy 5.302, sick leave. This policy is amended to reflect the changes agreed upon in the Memorandum of Understanding formed by the collaborative conferencing process. Bereavement leave is increased from 2 to 3 days, and familial relationships are expanded to include step-family and foster children. One day may be taken for death of cousins, aunts, uncles, nieces, and nephews, and additional days may be taken as sick days with the principal permission. Policy 5.303, personal and professional leave. This policy has been amended to reflect changes agreed upon in the Memorandum of Understanding formed by the collaborative conferencing process. A process for allowing personal days to accrue based on certified employees' years of service is added. Policy 6.2011, voluntary pre-K attendance. This policy is updated to reflect contact information for the new district voluntary pre-K contact. 17, Policy 6.308, bus safety and conduct. The policy is updated to reflect change in the law requiring adoption of policy establishing a retention period for and a mechanism for parents and guardians to view bus videos. Number 18, policy 3.218, service animals in district facilities. This policy adds procedures for service animals on school properties. This policy is directly in line with the regulations of the American Disabilities Act, and it is verbatim the model policy of TSBA. Policy 4.206, homebound instruction. This sets out the basic requirements for homebound instruction. Rutherford County Schools already offers homebound services, but it has not formally adopted a policy. This is the TSBA's model policy. Number 20, policy 5.308, sabbatical leave. This policy is created to reflect a proposal agreed upon in the memorandum of understanding formed by the collaborative conferencing process. This policy creates an opportunity for employees to take up to 1 year of a sabbatical leave for full-time educational purposes. Policy 6.506, students from military families. This policy is newly adopted proposed policy for the TSBA. The policy creates one central location for provisions that apply to students from military families. The attendance policy is restated from policy 6.200. Attendance in language related to a new law requiring enrollment of students being relocated through military to the district. Second item we've already gone over.
Okay. Tomorrow night, if it's okay with the board, if nobody has any questions, just have the director read like policy 6.506, students from military families. Would that be all right with everybody?
I mean, Thursday night.
Just not read all the other.
Thank you.
You owe me.
I know it.
Okay, we've done item 2, and we'll leave the second item separate. All right, insurance update.
Okay, we had our first meeting of the year, and we're looking at discussion a little bit more about the pre-diabetes contract with Cigna. They're looking at a software platform called Omada, and it's more of a behavioral counseling program for those who are in the pre-diabetic stage. So we look forward to hearing a few more presentations from Cigna next time.
Thank you, ma'am. Director's update.
All right, first of all, you got in front of you the district goals for the director of schools for 2019-20. You'll notice goal 1, Rutherford County Schools will receive the designation of the exemplary school district for the 2019-20 school year. We have not been an exemplary school district for the last 2 years. We've been advancing, so we want to take it to the next step. Also, in terms of recruiting and retaining and growing effective teachers, our goal is to maintain a retention rate of 90%, which we do currently have, while raising the percentage of effective teachers. When I say effective, these are the ones that are based on not the level of effectiveness, but also on basically on the tested areas for our teacher effect, from 76.9% to 90%. Go 3, we will graduate in college and career readiness by increasing our ready to graduate percentage from 43% to 48% or greater, while maintaining a 95% graduation rate. Now, ready to graduate includes all of our early post-secondary opportunities, AP, IB, Cambridge, dual enrollment, dual credit, CLEP. I'm missing something, I know, certifications in our CTE. So all those count. Go number 4 is Rutherford County will maintain district-wide growth of 5 in literacy and numeracy and literacy, and district-wide composite. That's what we had this year. Rutherford County Schools will meet a district single AMO and ELA in math, or make a percentage of absolute proficiency in each area. And the 6th goal will be to engage stakeholders through our district, through our series of town hall meetings. And during the meetings, we provide timely information that impacts our district, and our goal is to inform, listen, and develop partnership with our parents and communities. And our first one will be September 23rd at Rock Springs Middle. And we're using a different format this year. We're kind of focusing on things that we're doing in our in our district that's a little unique and informing our parents. Some of it will be geared for high school, some of it will be geared for middle, and some of it will be geared for elementary, and some of it will be geared for every one of them. So that was that part. The next part on our update, we have had some informal meetings working on our strategic plan for the Rutherford County school system, and we've involved our budget and finance. We've involved every aspect of our district, HR, curriculum and instruction, our engineering and construction. So what we would like to do is propose a board retreat, perhaps sometime in September or October, where we can all get together and kind of lay out some of the proposed goals that we're proposing for each one of these areas, and look at some of the action steps and have some feedback, some input from our board to determine these things, what looks like something we'd all agree on. So is there any dates in September? I know we all have some busy schedules, but it would be primarily to kind of get together and look at, because there's a variety of different things, in our building program that we need to discuss. And in budget and finance, Mr. Beaudry and I have been working on some things that we need to share with you and looking at some different things. And we need input from our board to determine if we feel like these are some things that we want to do going forward. Now, we're looking at a 3-year strategic plan, so as we master some of the goals that we present to you and that we all agree upon, then we go back in and we just change, we move those things forward, or we may even add other things. So it's kind of like a living document that we will address every year.
You talking about doing this on a Saturday?
Yes, sir. Now, can I tell you some dates that probably won't work for me, but I have to be honest, right? The 28th and the 21st, I think we've got something down at, the 21st, we've got something at Smyrna High School that we're invited to, the Hall of Fame thing. Would the 14th of September, would that be too soon, or could we do it?
I'd have to be counted out because we've got parent weekend at college that weekend, so we'll be out of town.
What about the second week in October sometime, maybe the 12th, October 12th? Is that agreeable with anyone, or is any conflicts there? Oh, that's fall break. Well, okay, all right. Let's try again then. Okay.
At the 19th.
Well, I'm heading to New York City for a conference, Literacy Summit.
26th?
26? 26 looks good to me. How's it, anyone else?
I would have to be counted out. I'll be out of town.
All right, well, let's drop back and punt on that and just kind of look at something we could do. I guess nothing would keep us from doing it during a board session. I mean, we could discuss it during a regular session, could we not? Mm-hmm. The 28th on a Saturday, I'm going to be out of town, out of state.
It's also TSBA conference that weekend.
That's in November, isn't it?
TSBA
conference is in November.
The 5th. I got the wrong month.
I guess, do we want to do, I guess the question is, do we want to do a retreat, or do we just want to do it on a regular board meeting?
Well, I think, to me, probably the answer to that question is going to lie with what our agenda is going to look like and how much time we feel like we need. Have we even fleshed out any kind of an agenda yet? As far as
We can have, I would say, I'm going to take I think an hour and a half, 2 hours. Hour and a half, 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And what we can do is provide you an agenda. If we did it, if we did it sometime in maybe the last week of of September. Do we have anything scheduled in the last week of September? If we did it then, between now and then, we could send out the drafts. As we did discuss that. Mhm.
Well, what do we got? We got a meeting that week? Why don't we could,
23rd.
September 17th and 18th. We could have the meeting and then have that right after the meeting.
Yeah. Keep in mind.
That'd make a long night.
I just want, probably an hour and a half is cutting it close, probably closer to 2 hours.
We can't go the week of the 23rd.
We've
got a
September the
lot-
23rd?
We've got a lot.
We could do that.
to the
Make it a
September.
special call meeting. I don't know that an hour and a half is really definable by calling it a retreat if we're
Yeah.
just have a couple.
That's what I was
building
saying. We don't
project
have to
topics.
call
To
it,
me,
we
that's
don't
really
have to
more
do
of
a retreat.
More of a special called meeting kind of thing, so.
Yeah, we could do, that's what I'm saying. We don't have to do a retreat. That's the reason why I was bringing up during the week. The 24th
Of October or September?
of September. It looks, I don't have a problem with 24th of September.
It's fine with me.
Good.
Sep-
24th? 24th? And we'll send you guys the,
You want to start at, say it, could we start at 4:30 instead of 5 for that? Would that suit everybody? Would that work better? Worse?
That way if we go long.
4:30 work for you? How about y'all? 4:30? Y'all get off
there
4:30.
captures the audience.
Earlier the better,
We're
right?
here to serve, whatever you need.
Good answer.
All right. 4:30.
On the 24th of September, correct?
Tuesday.
All right. You done?
I'm finished.
Ms. Johnson, do you have anything for Tennessee?
Nothing this evening.
Thank you. Mr. Hodge?
Oh, sir.
General discussion?
Mr. Estes, I spoke with Dr. Anthony earlier. She may have a little bit of update from the career fair that was last week.
Yes, thank you for asking me about that before the board meeting. I'd like to share that we had about 700 to attend the first annual Rutherford Works Job Fair. We had many come by. We expected it to be maybe more for the certified, but we had several come by and wanted to know about job embedded license. Several were interested also with substituting and doing some long-term interims. So I would say our booth saw probably about 75 to 100 of the participants. It was a good first turnout, and we hope it is extended, to next year as well.
Anything else?
Mr. Chairman, just a point of information here. I understand that the TWSAA has authorized lacrosse to be a sport, but not this year. I think it's next year.
That's correct.
Who said that's correct? Director? Well, in the past, I think our school system may have had a slight problem sometimes in going about these things, and just because something was allowed, then somebody came in and wanted to do it. And I know how that works, and they were always willing to do it for free. And that changes in a year or two, and then they're no longer interested in doing it for free, and they've got 20 kids that want to play. I would just like maybe our athletic director to determine, I'm not really all that familiar with lacrosse. I know a little bit, but that a little bit is not near enough. But of what kind of activity that really is, what kind of field it's going to require, what kind of equipment, that sort of thing. And I think we need to get out in front of it. And as far as a supplement for coach or coaches, and we know how this thing's mushrooms now. We've got, I'm not going to bring up any examples, but we've got some that where it starts out very small and nobody thinks anything about it. And then within 5 years, it's a real problem. And I don't want that to happen to that. I'm not against it at all necessarily, but also I don't think that I would want to consider a supplement for this person until we go back and do what we should have done 2 years ago and take care of our high school people. And we took care of the middle school, we took care of a few high school, but I'm certainly not for adding any more supplements until we take care of them. But that's possible. I wouldn't be against it.
It's no different in rugby. You know, rugby's not, it's not sanctioned by the TLSAA, however it exists. I don't think, would be my thinking that the board would probably consider that, you know, that's a club sport and you don't have to sponsor that sport, be part of the TLSAA.
Well, I'm not advocating any particular position on it. I just want us to be informed that we're going to have to make a decision on that eventually. And there may be other sports as well, but we were told, 4 or 5 years ago that lacrosse would be the next thing that TLSAA sang. And so anyway, evidently they've done that, so we just need to be aware and very, very cautious because like I say, it starts small. And you got a supplement to worry about, and then you got a field to worry about, and then you got middle schools to worry about, and gosh, we're hampered for space anyway. I appreciate the time, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Anyone else? Nothing else. We're adjourned.